And they have another Quidditch match, and they're playing against Ravenclaw. They win, and Harry, like, the Ravenclaw Seeker comes up, and she goes, oh, wow, good game. And Harry goes, oh, you're very pretty. Hello. And she's like, yeah, my name's Cho Chang. And he goes, I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Jenny's just so there.
Yeah, like Jenny's, like, in the background, just...
like she like grabs something, just like
just like grab the student, just like breaks them.
What's up, everybody? This is Zach
And Allie
with Nerd Cave, and today we're bringing you another exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z.
And Goku and Frieza are still fighting.
No, they're still yelling.
Still yelling. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're still powering up.
Yeah.
Does that work? Goku, Frieza.
Yeah.
Okay,
Goku,
cool.
Frieza fought. Yeah.
Okay.
The Frieza saga. That was all about that, leading up to that. You know.
Because does he eventually become a good guy?
Frieza, no, never.
Isn't there one who eventually becomes a good guy?
Some of the androids become good guys.
Well, I know about the androids. Okay.
Yeah. Well, in Super, Frieza is sort of a good guy. In a way. But I haven't watched all of Super, so. Anyway, this is, as far as I can remember, the lovely, lovely show where we talk about things that we've read, watched, or played in the past.
But it's been a while.
Yeah, and we try to remember it, and what we don't remember,
we have to make up.
And it's against the rules to say, I don't remember.
If you don't remember, you just go, as far as I can remember.
Yeah. So we fill in all the stuff that we don't remember, and we have a jolly good time. Mm-hmm. If you want the source material, you can check the links down below. Mm-hmm. You can get it there because everything that we talk about is
accessible. It's very good.
It's like a chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm. Like the chef from the Chamber of Bros. The pizza chefs. Give me some Zabras.
If you haven't checked out the first two books of Harry Potter, we'll have that down there as well. And we also have Star Wars books when talking about the Bane trilogy and everything. So check those out. Let's get into it.
All right.
I'm setting the timer, starting now.
All right, so we start. Harry is now a 13-year-old wizard boy. Magic boy.
There you go.
So he's hanging out at his aunt and uncle's house. Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and his cousin Dudley, the Dursleys. He's hanging out there. And one day, it's just a chill afternoon. The phone starts ringing, and Uncle Vernon's like, I'm gonna go answer the phone. He picks it up, and all of a sudden, he hears yelling in the receiver because this is the 90s. Technically, in the books, it's the 90s. And all of a sudden, he hears, "Hello, is Harry Potter there? My name is Ron Weasley." And Uncle Vernon's like, and he goes, "No, there's no one like by that name here. Never call my family again." And slams the phone down and turns to Harry and he goes, Boy. And Harry's like, oh my gosh, my friends are idiots. But I mean, Ron's never used a phone before, so you know. And then one day, Uncle Vernon, he has his sister over. Her name is Marge. Large Marge. Well, she will be.
Foreshadowing.
And so they're hanging out, and Aunt Marge, her name is, she's like making stabs at Harry's parents, like, oh, they were awful, no good for nothing freeloaders, and they were just awful people. And Harry's like, no, we do not have that kind of speak in this house.
Yeah, and I've seen them in a mirror before. They look like decent, upstanding. Yeah, but it's like he's learned some stuff. He's like, oh, your parents were very brave, and he's like, my dad played sports, so therefore he was a good person. Yeah, that's the indicator. If your parent played sports, you're a good guy.
But he'll learn more about his parents this year. Anyway, so she's being mean, and so he ends up making her like inflate with his mind. He doesn't use his wand. He's just thinking. He's so mad, but you know, angsty 13-year-old wizard boy, magic boy is
keep on brand.
Yeah, keep on brand. And so she inflates and goes away, and he's like, oh snap, I did magic outside of school. I'm gonna get expelled from this is awful. And so he's like, well, I'm running away because I'm 13 and I'm angsty. And so this is when the angst really starts to kick in.
Yeah.
So he grabs his stuff, runs away. Then he sees like this dog approaching him, like he's growling, and he's like, why is there like a weird like black dog over there? Like, that's weird. And then, hello, stray Poochie. Poochie. And the dog's like, don't do that. And then like he sticks his wand out. When he does that, all of a sudden this giant bus comes up out of nowhere, and it's like, hey, we're the night bus, and whenever you stick your wand out, we come and pick you up. And Harry's like, I did not know that was a thing. I would like it if people told me that these were things.
People would just inform me.
That'd be great.
They just tell me what bro meant.
And they're like, oh, that's really funny, bro. Get on. And he's like, And so they're like, okay, well, where are you going? He's like, take me to Leaky Cauldron. And they're like, okay, cool. So they take him to Leaky Cauldron, drop him off. And then who was there but the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge. And he's like, Harry, my dude, my guy, my bro. And Harry's like, go on. He's like, look.
You had me a bro.
Yeah, and he's like, I know you're worried about us, like, expelling you, but, like, it was an accident. We know. No big deal. Hopefully you haven't seen any black dogs. If you have, just don't approach them. Anyway, have a great year at Hogwarts. Okay, bye. And Harry's like, wait, that was a lot to unpack. But the minister's like, no, please leave. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Goodbye. Bye.
Be gone.
Be gone.
I knew what you were about to say.
I was like, no. And so he's like, oh, by the way, actually he peeks his head out of the door. And he's like, oh, by the way, we already like bought all your school supplies. Like, don't even worry about it. We don't want you going anywhere. Please stay inside your room at all times. Thank you. Closes the door, and Harry's like, that's weird. And so then he ends up running into Ron and Hermione because, oh my gosh, they're there too. That's so cool.
Yeah,
and Ron's like,
what a coincidence.
You know, this is good fun times. And so he's running, and he goes, hey, I'm hearing some loud footsteps. And Ron's like, oh, don't worry, that's 7 foot tall Ginny. And he's like, ah, right.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, well, this is going to be fun. And then Arthur Weasley, Ron's dad, comes up, and he's like, hey, Harry, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. He's like, man, that's great considering that what's-his-face is out to kill you. And Harry's like, want to run that by me one more time? He's like, oh, yeah, this dude, Sirius Black, he escaped from Azkaban, and he wants to kill you. And Harry's like, please don't talk about this so casually. This is a big deal. I am 13. And he's like, you'll be fine. Go to school. So they go off to school.
Just to explain what Sirius Black looks like, he looks like Gary Oldman.
Yeah, imagine him looking like Gary Oldman for no particular reason.
Yeah, no particular reason.
And so they
greatest American actor, Gary Oldman.
Terrible. And so they get on the train, and they're like, I wonder who our Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher is going to be this year. But hopefully whoever they are, they stay more than a year, because that position's cursed. And so they're on the train, having some good fun times, and then they find a compartment because they're like, oh, let's get a compartment just for ourselves. And then but they see there's like a dude, he's curled up in a corner, and they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll have to take this one. So they go sit down, and as far as I can remember, they're like, oh, I wonder who that was. And Hermione's like, oh, I think he's the new Defense Against Dark Arts professor. And then they're like, oh, yeah, his name's probably something Lupin because it's on his tag. And they're like, okay, cool. And so they're just, they're talking, they're chitting, they're chatting, and all of a sudden, like, it gets like really cold, and Harry's like, I'm a freezy boy now.
Who turned down the AC?
Guys, it's cold out. It's cold.
My circulation.
You're
13.
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden, this creepy creature starts coming down the train hallway, and it comes into the into their compartment, and it looks at Harry and is like, what's up, my dude? And it's got these like skeletal hands, but like it's a lot creepier than it looks in the movie. Like it's a lot more like menacing. It looks more like a corpse than a ghost. I mean, it is still very much like that because they were heavily based off of like ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings.
Look at the similarities.
I mean, but then he like
tries to kiss Harry.
Yeah, he just wants to give him a little. The next thing Harry knows, he wakes up and like he wakes up on the floor. And Ron and Hermione are like freaking out. And the dude who's sitting next to them, he's standing up and he goes, "Hey, what's up? My name's Remus Lupin. I'm going to be your professor of Defense Against the Dark Arts this year." And Harry's like, "Cool. What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, Dementor. Super awful things. Makes you feel like really bad because they feed on, they like suck away your happy memories. That's what they feed on. And they leave you nothing but despair and terrible things." And Harry's like, "Oh, cool."
So he gives him a chocolate frog. Here's a happy memory.
Yeah, he gives him some chocolate because it makes people feel happy. I wonder what they do to people who are like, maybe like allergic to chocolate. What do they get?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter? Okay.
If they're allergic to both of them, they just die.
Yeah, they just die.
It's like, well, we're out of options here. It's like, we have cotton candy, but like,
no, man, that's not allowed.
That's not what a bro would eat.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, bros do not eat cotton candy. Good to know. Guess I gotta throw away my cotton candy. So they get to school and Dumbledore is like, "Hey guys, what's up? By the way, you guys have probably heard that big old scary Sirius Black is on the loose, and he may or may not be coming to kill someone. Maybe, yeah, maybe not be coming to kill someone. Harry, I'm looking at you." And Harry's just like, "Everyone can hear you."
It's like, bro, I'm looking at you.
Look at you.
Bros warn people about.
Bros warn bros. Okay.
Yeah.
Bros warn bros. Respect. He's like, but to help with that, we're gonna have Dementors on campus, but they're gonna be like on the edge of campus. They're not gonna come onto the grounds. It's gonna be fine. It's just for for safety. And Harry's like, cool. And so then, one day at breakfast, Ron, Harry, and Hermione, they're going over their class schedules, and they notice Hermione's got like a ton of classes, like. And some of the classes are like happening at the same time, and they're like, "How are you going to both of these classes?" She's like, "Oh, it's a typo. Like it's a misprint." And they're like, "No, I'm pretty sure these classes are at the same time." She's like, "No, she's like, I can't be in two places at once. That's ridiculous." And so she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go, bye." And so Harry and Ron are like, "Well, I guess we're gonna go to class." And so they're going to. Well, the three of them end up going to Defense Against the Dark Arts. And Remus Lupin's like, "Hey, guys, I'm your new professor, and I'm super cool. Trust me." And they're like, "Okay, cool. We've never been burned in the past."
A werewolf.
Yeah, totally not a werewolf. Werewolves, they don't exist.
Yeah. I don't know. Not aware, man.
Yeah. So during one of their lessons, he's like, "Today we're going to learn about what it's like to face off against a boggart, which takes the shape of your worst fear. They like to live in cold or just damp, cramped places because they're weird things." And so Ron goes up and it takes the form of Arachnakid. Hermione goes up and it takes the form of her failing an exam, like Professor McGonagall telling her she failed. And then Harry goes up and it takes the form of a Dementor. And Remus Lupin's like, "Well, that we can't have a Dementor loose in the classroom, even if it is a fake, technically."
Yeah.
So he jumps in front. It turns into a moon, and he goes, "Oh, okay. We're getting rid of the boggart now," because he knows how to combat it with the ridiculous spell.
Yeah.
And so shuts that down, good to go. And everyone's like, "Why did it turn into a moon? Why is he afraid of the moon? Like, that's so weird."
Totally not a werewolf.
Totally not a werewolf. And so Harry's like, I want to learn how to like fight these things. I don't want to be scared of them. And Lupin's like, "I'll think about it." And so cut to Quidditch game. They're playing against Hufflepuff, and it's storming and all this stuff. And they're chasing the snitch, Harry, and the other Hufflepuff, the Hufflepuff seeker, whose name is Cedric Diggory. I'm sure he won't come back into play later. They're going, and then Harry gets attacked by a Dementor. He passes out. Cedric doesn't realize it, and he catches the snitch, but he tries to call the game off. And as far as I can remember, they say that Oliver Wood, the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, because it was his last year, was like, as far as I can remember, Fred and George said he was trying to drown himself in the shower because they lost the match.
Oh gosh.
I mean, like, they're joking.
Yeah.
But sports ball was all Oliver Wood knew.
So when he got older,
yeah, he became the sports ball. He became the sports ball.
He became the snitch.
He became the snitch.
He just dressed up.
He just became the snitch.
I'm like, "I'm the snitch."
And so, yeah, but and then like in that, that whole incident, Harry, like, so he falls off his broom, and his broom just flies away, and it gets bomped into the Whomping Willow, and it gets destroyed, or as far as I can remember, we'll see if that's what happens.
So did it happen?
That's exactly what happened, as far as I can remember. I could be confusing it with the movie, because as far as I remember, they happen the same-ish, as far as I remember. And so, cut to a little bit later, they're like, Hermione's like super exhausted and constantly disappearing and being really weird, and
Totally thought you were saying just totally constipated. I was like, this is an interesting thing to bring out, and as far as I can remember.
And so, Hermione's like
prunes.
Yeah. And so, at one point, Harry gets a gift in the mail. Mm-hmm. And it's a firebolt. It's the fastest broom in the world. Excuse me. And Hermione's like, no, we need to get this broom checked out. And Ron and Harry are like, why can't you let us have something nice, Hermione? You suck. You suck.
Yeah, but his broom was just like...
Well, that's what they're saying. They're like, Harry just lost his broom. He needs a new one. Like, he just got... She's like, no, like, let me look at this broom. And they're like, no, but then McGonagall ends up taking it. They're like, no, we're going to search it. And they're like, Hermione, why would you do this? And she's like, because I think that Sirius Black gave you this broom. And Harry's like, so what? Dude gave me a free broom. If you know if it crashes, I don't care. It's the fastest broom in the world. I want to ride it. But McGonagall's like, no, we're gonna strip it. We're gonna, make sure everything's okay, that it checks out, and you'll get it back later. And Harry's like, ugh. I'm like, Hermione, you suck. And so then come Christmas time, they're all going to Hogsmeade, which is the nearby magic village. It's the oldest magic village in the world. But Harry can't go because his aunt and uncle didn't sign his permission slip, so he can't go. But Fred and George are like, hey, my dude, my guy, my bro. And he's like, they're like, hey, we have this map. We already know, like, we've already memorized it. You can have it now. It shows you all the secret passages and all the stuff and where everyone is at all times in the school. And Harry's like, this seems like a big deal that you probably should have brought up earlier. And they're like, nah. So they give him the broom, or they give him the map. He uses the cloak, sneaks into the village, meets up with Ron and Hermione, and they find out. He's like, oh, people are talking about Sirius Black, and then they all mention Harry's parents, and he's like, wait, hold up. Like, I knew like that he kind of like helped Voldemort find them, but something weird's going on. So he follows them in to like the back room, and he's like hearing these adults talk about it, and they're like, yeah, no, like it's just really awful that Sirius Black was, he's Harry's godfather. He was James, his father. He was his best friend, and Harry loses it. He's like, yeah, he was their friend. He's like, no, this isn't like they got betrayed by their best friend. This is awful.
Yeah.
Like, this guy sucks.
He's not a bro.
He's not a bro.
From my research.
Yeah, like he's looking through his like, his like legal pad that he keeps on him. He's not a bro. And Ron's like, yeah, no, that is not a bro move. And Harry's like, we're getting it.
Yeah, we're
and so they train of thought. Hogsmeade. They just found out. Okay, yes. And so
he was his friend.
Yeah, and so flash forward a little bit later. McGonagall comes back with the broom. And she's like, hey, guess what? Your broom's totally clean. You're more than welcome to fly it. Go have fun. And Harry's like, yes, finally, sports. Because Harry is in love with sports, as we will find out throughout the series. So he's flying around super fast. He's having a grand old time. And then comes another Hogsmeade trip, and he's like, I don't really feel like going this time. And so he's hanging out with Professor Lupin, and Professor Lupin's like, yeah, I knew your parents. And Harry's like, Mom? Mon Perry? That's not how you say parents in French. I don't know. Mon parents. And he's like, yeah, like, and your mom, like, your dad was like, total goofball, like, you act a lot like him, but your mother was so nice, and I can see that kindness in you. And it's like, this is the first time that Harry's really heard people talk about his parents as humans.
Yeah, not
as these, martyrs, essentially. Yeah. Like, and he's like, no, I knew them. I was like, they were like my oldest friends. They were family to me. And then this is also the first time when Harry is told, you have your mother's eyes. And Harry's like, I didn't know that. I'm not crying, you're crying. And then Lupin's like, look.
Jenny's just like out there, just like heavy breathing.
And so Lupin's like, okay, look, I know you want to learn how to fight Dementors. You're absolutely right. However, understand that the charm it takes to defend yourself against them, it's a very powerful spell. And Harry's like, totally willing to learn. So he teaches him how to make a Patronus. He's able to kind of get at the hang of it, but, you got to really rely on happy memory. It's like Peter Pan. You got any happy little thought, but it can't just be any happy little thought. Mm-hmm. It's got to be, like, something that just really, really helped, like, really, deep inside.
Keep it down.
So some more time passes, and Hagrid, who was the new Care for Magical Creatures professor, I always feel like I'm going to say it wrong, he had this hippogriff, which is like a half eagle, half horse thing.
Yeah, instead of like a griffin.
Yeah, instead of a griffin. And so he had like a class on them one day. He actually had a few of them out there, but one of them, Buckbeak, scratches Malfoy because Malfoy did not approach this creature in the proper way, and they are very noble creatures. They're very like, no, like you have to do something a certain way, otherwise they feel very threatened, and they're like, no, we don't appreciate that. So
he's like, peasant
scratches him, and so Malfoy, he does the whole, my father will hear about this, writes to his father, and his father, Lucius Malfoy, writes, makes this whole thing about how it's a dangerous creature, it shouldn't be kept alive, need to kill it. And so Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they're going down to talk to Hagrid right before the execution happens, and on the way down, they run into Malfoy, and he's hanging out with some of his, cronies, and he's laughing, and he's like, oh, maybe I'll be able to hang it and send it to the Gryffindor common room, and they can hang it on their wall, like the head. And Hermione goes up, and she just in the book and the movie it's slightly different, but she just slaps him.
Yes.
Just no words, just slaps him, and he's like, I didn't know she could do that. And Harry, Ron are like, I didn't know she could do that either, man. She just baps him. And so then they go down to Hagrid, and then all of a sudden, like, they hear like some weird noises outside, like people are trying to get their attention. Yeah. And they look and they see the minister and the executioner coming down the pathway, and so they sneak out, and then they go up, and they're like, oh great, they this is so sad, they killed Buckbeak, the hippogriff. And then Hermione's cat, Crookshanks, is hanging around doing stuff, and Crookshanks and Scabbers, Ron's rat, have been like kind of feuding this whole time, but Crookshanks seems to be like onto something that no one else knows.
Yeah, because the nose knows.
The nose knows, and like because
Scabbers is like Ron's pet.
Yeah, Scabbers is Ron's pet, but he's like a super old rat, has been like passed down to him from his brothers. Once they got new pets, they like passed him on and all that stuff. But then so they chase him away, and so they end up chasing him to the Whomping Willow. But when they're there, all of a sudden it's this big old black dog, which they thought earlier in a previous, because they started taking divination class, in which Hermione was like, I hate this class, I'm not taking it, just stops coming altogether. Yeah. Just doesn't go. She's like, no, I don't want to take this class, I think divination is stupid. But in one of Harry's one of the classes, Harry receives what's called like the Grim Omen. I'm running out of time. And so they're like, oh no, it's the Grim. But then the black dog runs over. It looks like he's trying to grab the rat, but ends up grabbing Ron and drags him down. And Harry and him are like, how are we going to get through? But Crookshanks weaves through the tree limbs and pushes a knob on the willow and makes it calm down, and Harry and Hermione are able to go through. So they follow down, and then they realize, oh, this black dog was actually Sirius Black.
Bum, bum, bum.
And he's like, that's how I was able to survive all those years in Azkaban, was when I was a dog, they didn't really like sense me. So I was able to escape that way.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I saw this rat in this picture because the Weasleys, they won this trip. They were in the newspaper, and I saw they had this rat, and I went, oh my gosh, I know who that is. That's Peter Pettigrew. And here he goes, who's Peter Pettigrew? And they're like, oh, he was another one of your dad's friends. He's actually the one who betrayed him. And Lupin pops up, and he's like, he's right. He's telling the truth. And Harry's like, what? And they're like, yeah, no, this is what really happened. You need to calm down. This is the truth. And then Snape busts in. He's like, I'm taking all of you to jail. I'm taking all of you to jail. Jail. And so and Harry's like, So they all end up getting out of the the hut, because it took them to this little shack, and so they get out of there. They go back to the grounds, like back out of the tree, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, Lupin's a werewolf. I thought those didn't exist.
Yeah.
Totally
not a werewolf.
Totally not a werewolf. And so all those hijinks ensue. Harry and Hermione, because Ron can't walk because his legs all messed up. So Harry and Hermione chase. They try to follow Sirius down, and then all of a sudden he's getting attacked by Dementors. Hermione's got stuck up somewhere with Ron. I mean, as far as I can remember, Hermione's like, actually, no, I'm going to stay up here with Ron and make sure that he's okay. Harry, wait, no, please don't run away. Oh, he's gone. Okay. And so, so Harry and Sirius get attacked by Dementors, but then he hears Snape's voice going, I believe they're over here. And so next thing Harry knows, he wakes up in the hospital wing, and Ron's super out of it, and Hermione's like, okay, look, I know how we can fix this. And he's like, what do you mean? She goes, okay, so I can time travel. And Harry goes,
I wish people would stop not telling me
and
things.
She's like, that's why I was able to, I worked out with Professor McGonagall and got special permission from the ministry to use this to take extra classes. He's like, I'm sorry, you're telling me you've been time traveling all year to take extra classes? And she's like, yeah. And he's like,
Nerd.
How are we friends?
Like even the nurse is just like,
nerd. And so she's like, all right, so we're gonna do this, and we can go, and we're gonna save Buckbeak, and we're gonna save Sirius from getting the Dementor's kiss, which is when the Dementors fully suck out a person's soul. Because they can like feed on your soul, but the kiss is when it's like completely gone. And the thing is, a person does not die; they're just left as an empty shell of a being. They do not die, though. It's like the worst possible thing that can happen to a human. And so they go back in time, and it turns out that the people who were making the noise earlier to get their attention when they were in Hagrid's hut, it was actually Harry and Hermione trying to warn them, like, hey, they're coming down the hill, you need to get out. And so everyone leaves, and while the executioner minister are talking inside with Hagrid, Hermione and Harry, they free Buckbeak, and they go and they wait, because like, okay, now we gotta like figure out, so this is what happens there, here's what happens here. And they talk a little bit, and Harry's like, I have feelings, and Hermione's like, that's good. You're a human. You should have those. And he goes, yeah. Can I ask you something? And she goes, okay, yeah, sure. And he goes,
what's a bro?
What's a bro? And she's like, Harry, you're just being silly, trying to lighten the tension. And he's just like, just throws his legal pad in the air, like, what's the point? And then all of a sudden, they see that the stuff's happening again, and so they're trying to distract Lupin in his werewolf form to not attack anybody. But then Lupin gets distracted by something else and goes off in the woods and all that fun stuff. And then they go and find Sirius, and they're looking across the lake, and Harry's like, no, I'm pretty sure I saw like my father look, because Harry looks exactly like his father except for his mother's eyes. He's like, I'm pretty sure I saw my father come and cast the Patronus that saved us. And Hermione's like, Harry, your dad is dead. And he's like, thanks for the reminder. I know. And so he's like, you know what? No, it's clearly no one's coming. I have to save me. Yeah. And so he goes and does it, and it is a fully formed Patronus, which is it's such an incredibly difficult thing to produce, and the kid's only 13. Yeah. So like, I mean, it's a complete form, and it's a stag, which he finds out later was the same Patronus his father had. And it's also his father was an animagus, and as far as I can remember, it's animagus.
An animorph.
An animagus. Sure.
Which one is it?
Animagus. I mean, as far as I can remember, that's right. And so, because it turns out Sirius was one. He turns into the black dog, and Peter Pettigrew was the rat. He turned into a rat. And then, so he does that, and Hermione's like, dude, what you just did, that's, like, beyond impressive. And Harry's like, okay, cool, whatever, we need to go save Sirius.
The one thing that I actually learned this year was how to do a Patronus.
And so they get on Buckbeak, they go up to where they're keeping Sirius before he gets, the kiss. And so they give him Buckbeak, and the three of them fly down, and Harry's like, hey, could I, like, come live with you? And he's like, I would love that, but until my name is cleared, because Peter Pettigrew, we lost him, he escaped, he was my only evidence to prove my innocence. He's like, but I won't stop until I can do that, so that way you can come live with me. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool, that sounds great. And so Sirius, they give him Buckbeak, and the two of them fly away nice and happy, and then afterwards, Harry writes, or Sirius, this is a little bit later, like, Ron's like, wait, what happened? And Harry's like, oh yeah, we totally time traveled. And Ron's like, without me? And they're like, I mean, your leg was busted, you couldn't walk. And he's like, but without me. And they're like, dude, what did you want us to do? And he's like, take me with you.
To slow you down, bro.
So then they have another Quidditch match, and they're playing against Ravenclaw. They win, and Harry, like, the Ravenclaw Seeker comes up, and she goes, oh, wow, good game. And Harry goes, oh, you're very pretty. Hello. And she's like, yeah, my name's Cho Chang. And he goes, I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Jenny's just so there.
Yeah, like Jenny's, like, in the background, just...
like she like grabs something, just like
just like grab the student, just like breaks them. And then they receive a letter from Sirius saying like, hey, me and Buckbeak are good, I'll let you know. I can't tell you more right now because I can't let in case people like track this letter, but I'll let you know more when I can. And they're like, cool, good to know. And then Ron's like, hey, this upcoming summer we're gonna go to the Quidditch World Cup, you want to come? And Harry's like, that sounds awesome. And then that's the third book.
So no Voldy in this episode.
Yeah, there's no Voldemort. Like, the only mention of Voldemort is more like secondhand stuff. There's no Voldemort in this book.
Huh, interesting. I would have thought there would have been like...
And I think that is to prep because of the next book.
Yeah.
Goblet
of Fire.
Goblet of Fire. Goblet of Bros.
Yeah, Goblet of Bros.
Yeah, so that was Harry Potter and the Bro of Azkaban. Because it turns out Sirius was a bro.
Yeah, he wasn't a bro trying to kill him.
No, he wasn't a bro. Well, he was a bro trying to kill someone else, but not to kill Harry.
Yeah, to kill a mockingbird.
To kill a rat.
Yeah.
With literal and figurative.
Because the rat turns out to be...
Because, the rat's Peter Pettigrew, because the whole thing was that Sirius was their secret keeper, because James and Lily, Harry's parents, had to go underground because they knew Voldemort was after them and after their kid because of a prophecy thing that doesn't really get explained until later.
Yeah.
So they're underground, and it's like, but there's an enchantment where it's like, you can be in a place where no one can find you, but one other person has to know about it. And Sirius was that person. But Sirius got scared that somehow he would, like, somehow Voldemort would get it out of him. Like, he would torture him. He's like, I would never do it, but I'm still scared. He's like, but I know one person who never would, and also no one would ever suspect that they would entrust this to them. I'm going to tell Peter. He's another friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I know, like, no one would ever suspect him of having that secret.
No, was that David Tennant's character?
No.
Okay.
That was, I can't remember the actor's name. He's like, he's a shorter guy.
Oh, is he the one that's like the rat-looking
yes.
guy? Okay.
He's a rat.
Yeah, it's like, how can you trust that guy?
Yeah. So he makes Peter Pettigrew the secret keeper instead, and then Peter, Voldemort approaches him because I guess like he found out that he had the secret or whatever, and he was like, if you tell me, then I'm gonna bring you all these joys and riches, and I'll make you super powerful. And so he's like, okay, and tells them what happens, and that's how Voldemort's able to find the Potters and kill them.
So there you go. There's book 3.
There's book 3, Bro of Azkaban.
With Harry Potter the Magic Boy.
Harry Potter the Magic Boy.
If you liked the episode, let us know. Let Allie know.
Yeah.
How accurate she was.
Probably sure. Not very.
Pretty good. I know there's stuff we have to leave out.
Yeah.
Way more accurate than the Bane.
This is debatable. I feel like I left like a good third of the book out just because as far as I can remember.
It's 100% accurate. This is all based off the book, not the movies.
Yeah, I'm doing off the book. Although I feel like my brain is confusing the book. And I mean, granted, they're based off the same thing, but like I feel like I'm like, this happened in the movie. I guess that's how it happened in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah. As far as I can remember.
Yeah, that's the point of the show. If you got something that you want us to remember, let us know down in the comments below. If we have seen it, watched it, read it,
we can get to it pretty quickly.
We can do it quicker. If it's something new, we'll have to experience it. Let it
settle.
Let it settle for a while.
Let it fade away, and then come back to it.
Then we can come back to it. So let us know down in the comments below. We appreciate you taking your time listening and watching all of that.
Absolutely.
Hope you are enjoying it. Share it with somebody that you love, because sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
This has been Zach.
And Allie.
Have a blessed week.